Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious with us, meaning a rose between two thorns here. Welcome, Marie Fullerton.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. We're glad you're here. Wife, of course, Gordon Fullerton, one of our iconic shuttle pioneers of the whole entire program. We'll talk about that with Mark Usciak beside us here, partner of the American Space Museum. Mark.
Good to see you, bud.
And your brother, Tom, responsible for photographing over 70 launches and also responsible for bringing Mrs. Fullerton here. We're so glad that you efforted this. I met you previously this afternoon. We're so glad that you're here and you've got some wonderful stories to tell about your great husband and the things he did for America and our national asset, the space shuttle, in its infancy. And we're going to relive some of that history there. Mark, you're here with another great friend of our museum, Mr. Chris Calley, who's in our studio here. Yay. You are his attaché and his personal photographer, are you not, at
That'd
the
be true.
Scholarship
Yes,
Foundation?
And his Uber, I think.
His Uber? Yes, yes, he is. Did you pick all the Brazil nuts out of the pack there? 'Cause hey, Chris. There's Chris there. And we got CB, Carlton Bailey's in here, sleep deprived from photographing another rocket launch at 3 in the morning in there.
Oh, that's what it was.
And we've got Marty Winkle doing our Streamlabs here with Selvin Trotter. Everything going good over there, guys? All right. But we've had some Streamlab hiccups, so if we do go off, we'll come right back. You're going to want to stick around and hear some great stories today from Marie Fullerton. And this is Astronaut Hall of Fame week. We're going to talk a little bit about that and all the love that you're going to get this weekend from all these people you've known for decades.
It's so good to be with them again and to see what they've been doing, their families, and just great memories. Great memories.
Now, you live where now?
I live in Lancaster, California.
Okay. And this guy lives in
Lancaster, yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Ours is Lancaster, his is Lancaster.
All right. So you always happy to go over here to Space Coast once in a while?
Oh, absolutely. As often as I can, which is usually once a year for this event.
Yeah. And this event is the Scholarship Foundation and their induction of Roy Bridges and Mark Kelly into the Astronaut Hall of Fame. You know Roy Bridges real well. We'll talk about that, as your husband was his commander of his flight when Roy was the pilot. Right. We'll talk a little about that. We first want to thank one of our sponsors, GoHistoryTravel.org. All right. And that's okay if the pictures are a little bit behind us there. You want to check this travel site out that is awesome, with little vignettes all over the world. And I think once you start looking at the what's put there, you'll enjoy it. They went to Mike Collins's birthplace in Rome.
Oh, really?
I think they've been to Truly's birthplace at a glance. So we're gonna. They gave us a significant amount of money, and we're going to be promoting them as they help us stay curious out into the field. And, of course, Marie, what would it be without saying, may the 4th be with you? Okay. As we lost our picture there, want to do the eye? Maybe that'll come up there. There we are. Oh my gosh, that scared the heck out of me there. Now, who in the world would ruin a picture by putting this Star Wars stuff in the middle of it up there? That's a little silly, don't you think?
Is he in this room?
Oh, wait a minute. It's so silly. I saw Chris Calley sell those as fast as he put them out at Yuri's night out there. But
it is neat. You got to admit that.
And of course, May 4th, the Star Wars people going nuts with May the 4th be with you. Yeah. Are you Star Trek or Star Wars?
I'd rather
Marie?
Stargaze. I don't know much. I mean, I've seen some of the movies. But,
now there, I'm with you. I'm with you.
My son had all those little figurines and stuff. But
we're going to talk about where you grew up, because you're real close to where I grew up stargazing, and we'll save that for the end there. But really a cool piece of work there. Chris Calley has taken the iconic photo of Buzz Aldrin on the moon and added his own twist with it. He's also done that with the Earthrise. That's Gene Cernan. I'm sorry. You're right. There's no mountains behind Buzz.
Yeah.
Duh. That's Apollo 17 and the last man on the moon there. and Chris is doing all kinds of things with these ideas, and then he goes on to something else, as all artists do. And he'll be at the Scholarship Foundation there, supporting them. So let's see what else we got up next. Oh, wanted to set the stage a little bit with your husband. Just the official bio there. He was born in Rochester, New York. All right, and lived to the age 76. All right, a NASA astronaut. What year was he chosen? You must remember that.
Yes, I remember extremely well. He had been an MOL astronaut, Manned Orbiting Laboratory, which was a very secretive space organization.
Mm-hmm.
And when I married him, he was already a MOL astronaut. And one day at work, I'm in the operating room, and he calls me at the hospital in May of '69, a year after we were married, and he says, "Marie, the space has canceled, our flight is canceled, and I'm out of job."
Mm-hmm.
So since it was very secretive,
Keep your job.
yeah,
In other words.
I had to keep my day job.
Yeah.
Since the MOL was it was a military, very secretive space program.
Yes.
There were 15 fellows. The NASA took the 7 youngest. I can remember the headlines in the Houston Post. I mean, we weren't there yet, but somebody else said on the front page, it said, NASA needs 7 more astronauts like Rosemary needs another baby.
Oh, really?
If you remember that movie?
Yeah,
Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, that was a hit back in the 1968, 69 era there. Well, that your husband, of course, was a pioneer of the shuttle era, with the Enterprise being used in the approach and landing test. ALT. We'll see your family out there at that test bed. We never see astronauts at their desk much, and so I'm glad you put that picture in there, Marie.
Thank you.
Working hard there. Is that in Houston? Johnson Space Center?
I think that was at Dryden.
Oh, at Dryden. Okay.
Trying to think, because I would give him pictures ever so often for his backdrop to remember I was his wife and the kids, etc.
Yeah.
I think that was Dryden.
And we're gonna get more into your family and your marriage and so forth like that. But without a doubt, the famous mission is the third of the shuttle. We will have Mark Usciak. These are your brother's launch photo and your landing photo. Tell us a little bit about the unusual circumstances of the third flight by Columbia, a test flight.
Well, this was the third time we set out remote cameras. The square shot there is a sound-activated Hasselblad film camera about, I'm going to say about 1,100 feet back from the launch pad, set off by the sound of the engines. 12 shots on the roll. That was probably mid-roll, and everything worked out great. It was good weather. Exposures are right on. Everything. That was one of our favorite and best launch shots.
Was that the first time you'd been out, or were you at 1 and 2?
We were at 1 and 2. They were different times of the day and at a different look. But this one, of the first 3, this one was the best that we had shot so far. The landing shot, of course, was in White Sands, and Marie's still probably dusting sand out of her clothes.
And he got the sand out of his cameras.
I got the sand out of my cameras, and so that was in March of '82, and the only time that they landed the shuttle there in the entire program.
And we've got some pictures of your family out there to talk about that. Really cute. To see an astronaut's wife, and kind of we're going to follow you around a little bit with a great memory memory album that Marie Fullerton supplied us for this special show that we're glad we could show you all today. There is, of course, Jack Lausma, your buddy. I know you've been friends. He was not only the STS-3 together, but they were the approach and landing tests also, astronauts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were asking, but he was not on the approach and
No,
landing.
Lassner was not.
Fred
Okay.
was.
Yeah, Fredo and your husband.
Jack was the commander of Columbia
STS-3.
when Gordo was the other pilot.
And he's celebrating the 50th anniversary of his Skylab
Skylab,
flight.
yeah.
We've seen quite a lot of him on the Space Coast lately. Have you seen him yet this visit?
I haven't. He's not coming in until tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, he's Jack Lausma, like always, a
Yeah.
Marine,
He's
and
neat.
hoorah, and what a gentleman, and a pleasure to talk to. And he
His-
loves talking space, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. And his wife Gracia had a baby shower when we adopted our little Molly.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at his house with the other astronaut wives, and she got a phone call, and it was Jack, and he was up in Skylab going around talking to her on the phone
Oh, really?
during our baby shower.
Oh, wow. How about that? What year is that? Well, that'd been 1976.
73.
No, 73. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, 73
Yeah.
in there.
But great
So,
family.
Yeah, and of course, your husband passed away 10 years this August, correct?
Yeah, he wanted to be buried at Arlington,
Mhm.
and so he had full military honors, the caisson and everything, and it seemed like everybody wanted to come to his. I didn't send out any invitations. I said, anybody want to come, they come, and I think I had over 140 people there.
Oh, wow.
So we had a
And
Catholic.
that's your photograph, Mark, of it there at
Yeah,
Arlington
that
there.
was us, yeah.
And
And it was beautiful, very special. It's perfect. And of course, when you went on Arlington burial, full honors, you wait about 3 months because all these other people are ahead of you.
hmm
So he died in August, and the burial was November 15th. So the leaves were still out, and it's just gorgeous.
Well, thanks to Marty, I've been privileged to be there one time. It's quite a phenomenal facility there. Yeah, it's just something I'll never forget and want to go back to there. Well, one reason that you're here, of course, is the Astronaut Hall of Fame induction. Roy Bridges there with his flight 51J, I think it is, right? Where's my notes on Roy there?
51F was the
Yeah,
flight.
51F. Yeah, F. Yeah, F Troop. I got to keep that in mind that way. And Mark Kelly there for space flights. You participated in these events before. Tell me about how they go and how much you enjoy them.
Oh, this Hall of Fame
Yeah, the
thing?
Hall of Fame that the Scholarship
Well, it's
Foundation
just
does.
nice to see everybody, and I love going and watching the induction and watching the people, and it's neat to watch all the people that come and pay to go see this, how excited they are about the space program. And even though things have in some ways have slowed down, that we don't have a manned orbiting launch every month or every 6 months or something like that, there's still so many space enthusiasts out there that I just feel very American looking at these people.
What was it like when your husband was inducted? I didn't look up his induction, but there we have your husband in 1982,
Yes.
looking handsome there with
He
Jack
took
on the
that, too.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, this
And-
was right after the landing.
But they're both in the Hall of Fame, and when that happened, what did your husband think of that?
Oh, he was honored to be in the Hall of Fame. He was honored to help raise money for the STEM scholarships, and just thought that was very important for people to keep pushing science on not only, boys and girls. And he was happy to go to other schools and give out these scholarships and so forth.
It's a big part of what the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation does, founded, of course, by the original Mercury 7 astronauts, and its legacy is continuing now, almost 70 years later. Sure, 60 years of that.
Wow, it's that long. Wow.
You get to rub shoulders with a lot of people over your lifetime, of course, and there's the great Jim McDivitt, who we
Yeah.
lost just last year, with your husband. That's their induction there at the Hall of Fame, it looks like, around their neck there. And anything to say about Mr. McDivitt?
Well, I didn't know him very well, and his wife Pat was an RN like I am.
Oh, right,
So they kind of left not too long after his flight. So I didn't get to know them like I did know a lot of the other, older ones.
Yeah, it's important flight, Apollo 9. Your husband was Capcom to a lot of Apollo flights and
Yes, he was.
other things in there. There's a great group of people, Bob Crippen and yourself with with Admiral Truly there, and
This was
Fred Hayes. I don't know the woman.
well, she is Susan Marinoff. She is the CEO of the Intrepid Museum,
Uh-huh.
and that is where the Enterprise is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. In New York City Harbor
Yes.
there.
And so I think this
Hudson.
was the unveiling of it back in 16 or something.
Neat. All right. And there's John David Bartow, a local astronaut who's been on Stay Curious, talking about a payload before.
Yeah,
You're out in the town, it looks like, there with JD and
he was. Yeah,
your husband.
he was mission specialist on Gordo's 51F.
Right.
Nice man.
Oh,
Nice.
very nice man. Right. A serious scientist, physicist scientist there. And one of the reasons why we're here, nope, not that reason. One of the reasons why we're here is there's the two brothers there with Mr. Fred Hayes. Tom Usciak. Hey, Tommy. Good. I know you're watching there. And thank you
Hi, Tom.
for efforting. Yep. He's up there in a sleet storm in Lancaster, maybe.
I hope
Oh,
not.
that's
No,
been-
I hope it's not doing that.
Of course, Fred Hayes has been in your life a long, long time. And do you stay in touch with him?
Oh, absolutely. He went after Gordo's stroke. Wait, before that, he would send, and still does, send cartoons because Gordo loved to tell jokes. He had a very dry sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And Fredo would send a joke, and he'd say, "This is a Gordo kind of joke." And Gordo would say, "No, that wasn't even funny." But anyway,
Maybe
yeah.
that's what Fred meant.
So after Gordo's stroke, he came out from Houston to see him, I don't know, 3-4 times, and he'd stay 3 or 4 days and stay at the nursing home with him. He's just a gentleman of the first class.
Fred Hayes is that. He's a real man like that. I've heard stories of how he's helped families and been there, just being there. They appreciate.
He's just naturally nice. And I know when he was writing his book, he calls me at like 11 p.m. to say, oh, Marie, blah, 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 blah. I got this book, I'm writing it, and it's going to be published, and blah, blah, blah. And then, several phone calls later, he calls again at 11:30. He says, Marie, I've got the book finished. It's been published, and they just sent me 12 free copies, and I'm going to send you one of them. And I says, well, send it, what do you call it?
FedEx.
Media, so you don't have to pay for
media.
a book.
Yeah, right.
So you don't have to pay for a heavy book. But it was
We're
great.
senior citizens after all, right? Okay,
right.
so,
But
Marty, what's the name of that book? It's on Fredo's book. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Never panic early.
Never Panic
Never-
Early.
Never panic early.
And
yes.
our museum's in touch with the author. I think his name's Bill, because they want to do a book signing down here, maybe in July or something.
Well, I
So-
mean, Fred has lived 14 lives.
Oh, like you said, he's
Because he had that bad burn in that.
got
Confederate-
killed in a plane crash
Yeah, and
after
that
Apollo
was-
13. Yeah, people don't know
Yeah,
about
and
that.
then that was before ALT. And so he was, I think he said, in the hospital 9 months in
Yeah.
the burn unit. And I mean, he just comes through. God is with him.
Well, a couple fun pictures, and then we'll talk about you and your husband's romance a little bit. But I'll bet nobody's seen this picture of the great Gordon Fullerton dressed like this.
Yeah, no. I belong to a guild to our local hospital where we raise money. We have a debutante program, and we raise money for the hospital.
Uh-huh.
And this year I was the debutante. I was president of the guild.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
it was going to be a Scottish theme, and Gordo just happens to be Scottish. And so with my being on the board and he being the board spouse, they all dressed up in their tartan.
Well, Robert Law is doing cartwheels up in Dundee, Scotland right now, enjoying his evening cocktail. He's a regular watching us today.
Well, he wouldn't even tell me what was under his skirt.
He wouldn't. Okay.
He got dressed after I had to be there early for pictures.
Yeah.
And
Well, from what you shared with me about your husband, this does seem a little out of character, but what a good sport.
oh, he is very good sport.
Yeah. And then here's one of you that I pulled out, and I said, this is kind of my favorite picture of all you, because I'm a corn-fed kid from Ohio,
Yeah.
and you said you're from
From Ohio, Northwest Ohio, Delphus, Ohio. And,
Allen County.
Yeah, Allen.
And
yeah,
I'm Hancock County, right
Yep,
beside
yep.
you in Findlay
Yes,
there.
yes,
and
yes,
I've been
yes.
to Delphus is near Lima, Ohio.
Yeah, one of the jobs that we had to do. I had a twin brother, and on Saturday, when I was 5, well, what I remember is the time when we were 5. Dad would take the tractor and the wagon, and they'd go down the end of the field, and he had already shocked all the corn. You'd be familiar with that.
Sure.
So all this corn that fell on the ground had to be picked up and thrown in this wagon. So Bud and I were 5. We had one of our tractors was a smaller Ford tractor. So Dad put it in gear. Here I'm 5 now.
Right.
Driving this tractor, first gear all the way down the end of the field. They're throwing the corn in. And of course, now I have to share it with my twin brother. So turn the corner and I get out and pitch corn, and Bud gets to drive the tractor. But, oh yeah, we were very active.
Yes, it's just flat. It's they have these little cities with 40,000 people, and then 40,000 farmers in the county, and you know, good clean living up there. And the mall there, I remember my aunt driving me to the mall, and I bought my the Beatles Sgt. Pepper album there, because you couldn't buy it anywhere else. Too far to drive to Toledo. We went to Lima. You know, we didn't have it in Findlay. Lima was the big place there. But
great place.
You ever get back there to Ohio?
Oh yeah, I go back every year. In fact, I'll be gone back.
I love going in the fall, and my mother's still doing well up there. So
in Findlay.
Yep, she certainly is. Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep. Still have a lot of friends and family in Findlay, but we got to look at some pictures of you as a nurse here. Okay.
That really is me.
And where were you a nurse? How did that all happen? Is this in the family or something?
Oh yeah. Well, out of the 4 of us girls in the family, 3 of us are RNs.
Mm-hmm.
But I was dating a fellow for about 5 years, and I loved him, but it just wasn't total. Mm-hmm. So I decided I wanted to join the Air Force, but it was really a lark. So I came home from work one day. I worked in the OR, and Mom said, "Oh, you're late." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I went to see the recruiter today, Air Force. I think I'll join the Air Force." She turned around and looked at me, and we're a close family, and she said, "You don't have the guts to do that."
Mom said that to you.
My mom said that, yes. Well, a month later, I'm taking my oath of office, and was stationed. I went to Texas Shepherd for my 3-week indoctrination. Since doctors, nurses, and dentists, since we knew what to do as soon as we went to a base, we only had a 3-week indoctrination. And mine was at Shepherd, and then I was sent off to Edwards Air Force Base in the hospital there. 2 of the best years of my life. I was, as you can see, much thinner.
Yeah.
You didn't have to say yes after that.
Well, I'm going there. I hit a button there. You are just as thin now as you were then. You look lovely, of course.
My grandkids don't even recognize me on that picture.
I went from that big to 3 guys, and then I took it away, and then I have to go to 4. Okay, on there. Well, we got another picture of this handsome devil that you ended up meeting. How'd that happen?
Well, there were, when I joined the Air Force, I decided I was going to have a heck of a good time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you did?
For
okay.
2 years. And,
that sounds like someone from Northwest Ohio. You know.
Well, the Air
I'm
Force
out.
Totally different than Delphus, Ohio. A farm. So anyway, so when I got there, we started having a inexpensive get together every other week. We draw names on the hat, and we had a great place to be. There were like 15 of us nurses, maybe 20 school teachers. Some of them were married, to 150 bachelor officers. I mean, those odds, you just couldn't beat those odds. So we had a party every other week. We'd pull 2 names out of a hat. Mm-hmm. And I had a date the weekend before going snow skiing, and he worked at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So he said, "Will you please set up my house for the party?" Well, Gordo's the first one that comes in. And because I said, "Sure, I'll set up." All we had was a spike punch and chips, something really inexpensive. So this guy comes to the door, just happens to be Gordo. And I had seen him coming out of the area where we lived, the Desert Villa. And I'll back up a little bit. I worked at the OR all morning. In the afternoon, I ran the outpatient clinic. And the gal, since I had 3 male surgeons, I needed a female to be in there with the other women were examined. And she told me about this guy that was coming. He drove a Porsche. Well, you don't have Porsches in Delphus, Ohio.
No.
And I did see him one day coming out of the area where we both had our separate apartments. And so he comes to the door, and I said, "Oh, you must be Gordy Fullerton." Well, the only Gordon I know was a guy named Gordy. That's what we called him. He said, "Gordon's the name." And I said, "Oh boy, did I blow that!" Not only that, I had a mouthful of braces.
Oh, yeah.
23. Yeah.
Okay.
But
That's kind of unusual back in the day.
Yeah.
That late.
Well,
Yeah.
we hit it off, and I talked to him the whole time and went over to his apartment, and he taught me how to play gin rummy.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "I'm so embarrassed. I got this mouthful of braces." He said, "So does my mom, and she's 60 years old."
Oh,
So that broke the ice.
no, that's neat. That's neat. So wasn't so you start dating and then
Oh, we started,
that's Andy's birthday there.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
got in there out of sequence there. There we go.
yeah. So we had a big
Formal
military
wedding.
wedding. Yeah, it was beautiful. First military wedding they ever had in my hometown. And our church is a big, magnificent Catholic church and a really long aisle. And it was a nice place to have a wedding.
Well, that's a beautiful picture there, and there's the cutting the cake
Yeah.
with the big sword there.
Yep.
And so what was Gordon doing at this point of you guys' lives there?
At this point, he had already been selected as a manned orbiting lab astronaut. There were 15 of them, but at this point, he was in the middle group.
Right.
And trying to think, he was doing some TDY at Edwards where I was, but I mean, he was only there maybe 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, man, that was interesting. Manned orbiting laboratory was going to be the Gemini spacecraft attached to a mini space station, and reconnaissance was the main thing for it. And it basically got canceled because unmanned satellites were more efficient than sending
Well, it
people
was
out.
going to be launched from Vandenberg, and so it was going to be since it was secretive, it was going to be in an a longitudinal orbit
Polar.
or polar.
Yeah.
And I just, when he called me up, says he doesn't have a job. And I can remember one time I was out at the base going to the commissary, and that was at Edwards. That was at that time, it's out at Main Base. And I came out and I saw this big cloud of smoke and fire and stuff. I thought, oh my gosh, I was on call for surgery and the ER. And I thought, oh, it must have been a plane crash. So I called back, that's before cell phones. I called back to the hospital, and they said, you got to come in. There's been a plane crash. When I get to the ER, I'm still outside of the hospital now. One of the surgeons who was on call, who I worked with, he said, Marie, it's an MOL astronaut. He did not have a name.
Oh,
But of
your
course,
heart sank there.
oh
I'm
my
sure,
gosh.
in your
I
throat.
I knew all of them. And it was Bob Lawrence, who was in the last group selected, who happened to be the first black astronaut.
Right, yeah.
So I did not really know him or his wife because
that goes through the whole community, and everybody
God.
knows,
I remember the physician saying to me, he said, "Are you aware of all this when you're dating Gordon?" And I said, "Yes, that's a chance I'm willing to take." And so when he had his launches, we did not take out any extra insurance or anything. And Gordo said he could have easily gotten. It was worse driving to Ellington to get in a T-38 than it was going into space.
Well, they may have a point there. A test pilot would think that, of course. We got a couple family pictures here. We're going to talk about STS-3 and then the alt program. You got some family pictures there. That's
That's Kobe, who's now just turned 20,
okay.
and
Grandchildren.
his little brother's behind Mark.
All right. And
Yeah.
there's your grandkids again.
Yeah, they
right?
would come to see us for a few weeks, and we're out camping now. But we did lots of things, and still do.
Well, you gave me a lot of pictures there, and it's like a peek into a family album like a lot of people aren't privileged to have. And I told you when I met you this afternoon that your husband was a family man, and he it's hard for an astronaut, man or woman, to be a family person.
Yeah.
But I can see where he did the extra effort to do that.
Oh, he did. He was TDY a lot, but he really made an effort. We took our kids camping when they were little, and we just did lots of things with them.
Here's a
And that's our daughter and son.
Okay. And what do they do in life today?
Molly has a master's in teaching, and she's also bilingual. She went to Argentina for a year,
Oh, wow.
and she teaches world history to seventh graders at a school just really close to us. Our son had worked and had owned a group home for young kids for about 5 years, and then that was just really overpowering to see these young kids come in being abused and everything. So after about 15 years of that, he now sells health insurance.
Okay.
He
He has a
doesn't-
kind heart, it sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, he is. He's very much of a dad, a husband, a son. He's always saying, "Call me when you get there, Mom. Call me when you get there." But they're both really good. They're both adopted. We got Molly at 2.5 days, private adoption. We got Andy at 11 days from Catholic Charities. And of course, we told them the minute we picked them up, they were adopted. So they always knew that.
Huh. Well, that's very interesting. So, I mean, the process of that, I got to back up there just a little bit. The process of the adoption, I mean, was it,
Oh, it was horrific.
oh, was?
Oh, it was. Back when we got Molly, I mean, people,
Because your husband's got military background clearance that he
Oh.
can't talk about people, ever and things like that.
Well,
So it was,
the first phone call we made to Catholic Charities, the fellow said, he's calling me up to make an appointment. I'm still at Daniel Freeman at that point in LA at the hospital. And he's saying, we'll have a meeting, blah, 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 in May, which was 6 months away. And I said, and then he said, I mean, he didn't know what Gordo didn't know what I did. I mean, I thought he didn't. Then he says, okay, I'll send this to Gordon Fullerton. I said, I want to make sure I get this letter. I said, please send it to, I think he was a major then, Major Charles G, because he goes by his middle name. And then he said, oh, some people think rank has its privileges, and I wish that all the money of the space program went to charity. I says, well, thank you. I'll be waiting for the letter. I mean, I did, just because Gordo was an astronaut, we're at the bottom of the list. In no way I didn't tell him what he did. And no way did I expect us to go up any higher than the lowest person, the last person that called. So I called. We had been at Gene Cerdan's for a party, and the head of Catholic Charities in Houston was there. And I said, oh, I guess we were living in Houston then. And I said, this is what this fellow said. Well, I mean, minutes later, I mean, he's the one that Father told us that we probably should put our name in for adoption because it was 5 years. And so a few minutes later, this fellow calls back and says, I am so sorry. We will have a meeting at your convenience. You don't have to wait 6 months.
mm,
And he said, I really didn't mean that. I said, well, didn't tell you anything. Telling you that we should have a baby before anybody else does.
right.
And I thought, what does this guy look like? Anyway, so the good news was we had a meeting, and in the meantime, we got Molly as from my actual doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and her name was put in so that when we picked up Andy, his name was already in a year and a half ahead of time. So it all ended up okay.
That was interesting. Well,
But it was back then; it was very difficult to adopt. Also,
well, I'm sure they're proud of their dad and the legacy that you're continuing out
yeah.
there. The guys, I don't know if I can make that picture smaller or not by going to 4 or 3.
Go to 3.
Go to 3. Okay, there we go. And then if we can bring it up like that. Okay, good. All right. Well, there in the background is STS3. Mark, there's your husband's. Let's see if I make that bigger. Then go ahead and make that bigger for me there. There we go. And then you put the I. There's your husband's signature in case some of you are curious and may have it out there in the beautiful patch there. You got your family out there. I think we got, there's a walkout shot. Is that?
That's a Tom Usciak shot.
All right.
Top did that.
Yep.
Tommy's shot there. Who's that on the left?
George Abbey.
Yeah, it's George Abbey. Yeah, that's right. That's George Abbey. You did what George Abbey wanted you to do, I understand.
Look at that.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
There you are,
That's the first picture I ever
2 years ago.
I love this picture.
Do you?
I mean, it's just so neat. It's so special. I just wish we were holding each other's hand. But we weren't on this. I mean, we often do, but we weren't.
No PDA there.
Yeah.
But a NASA here.
But
When
that-
cute little blazer you have on there with the mission
well,
patch, and
Every flight of his, I made the kids' outfits to match mine.
did you?
Yeah.
You're a
And so-
seamstress then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so for this one, all three of us had blue blazers, and Molly the blue skirt, and Andy the shorts, and I the red. We all dressed alike. And then for the last one,
Yeah, we'll see a picture of that here in
Yeah.
just a minute during the last flight. Want to talk, the approach and landing test is a very, I'm not going to say obscure or unknown part of the shuttle era, but in 1977-78, they had to test this space glider that it could land. Your husband over there with Fred Hayes in the lower left-hand picture, an iconic photo of Enterprise behind there. And there's your daughter and son dressed up in those outfits. Tell us a little bit about those. It was almost 3 years, and NASA sent the families out there to what town was it out there? And I know that the town was actually in California, wasn't it? Near.
well, this took place in Palmdale. We went out with the little kids for. I mean, those two pictures are different. We went out to for the unveiling of it, and I can remember they pulled the Enterprise from around that big building, and of course we're pretty close to it, and I thought, oh my gosh, my husband, it looked like it was paper mache.
Oh, really?
I mean, it really like a 707 paper mache. And I thought, he's going to fly this.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
But that was fun.
And they had all the Star Trek people
yeah,
out there. Remember that?
Yeah, I
Famous
do,
picture.
but we didn't meet them at all.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
they got all the publicity, which was fine. But no, I was sad that we didn't get to meet them at all.
Bob Seek, the launch director of 57 shuttles and so much more in the early NASA era of Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo, he loves the alt program. I mean, it's a fond time of his career. His kids were teenagers. He said it was a great little community of
Was he working at NASA out there?
Yeah, yeah, Bob Seek.
Oh,
he was one of the project managers of it out
Oh.
there. He said NASA didn't keep such strings on everybody. You had some freedom, but he liked the environment of all the NASA people. Apparently, all lived in
It's a big,
a condominium or
yeah,
apartment
it's a big,
complex.
it's a big family. Dryden, well, it's now called Armstrong, but it's a big family. Everybody loves each other, and it was nice to be there. I mean, we lived off base, but
There you are out there with the kids. Up there, and then oh yeah, I gotta blow that one up. That's so cute.
he was so. That's when he was a little blonde.
Yeah.
But he is so proud of Gordo. I was telling Mark on the way here when he was. Of course, the people we hung out with were just happened to be people that worked on the space program. That's where we lived. And his teacher, her husband was Matt Heplin, who was a flight controller. His teacher, when he was 3, was Sally. And so she asked the kids one day what your parents did when she's asking Andy, what does your dad do? He said, well, he's a pilot. And she said, yes, but isn't he an astronaut too? Oh, yeah, but he's a pilot.
Oh,
And so we just didn't talk what he did at home.
that's actually at White Sands, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the kids probably are barefooted, maybe not. They're out waiting. I guess that was a helicopter we went out there, and we were lucky we were in a helicopter. You had to
I know.
carry your own equipment out there. But that
it was worth it.
silicone, yeah, oh my golly. It was,
Now, those little outfits we saw your kids in, these are the grandkids.
These are the
in that-
grandkids,
in
yeah.
that signal outfit there with Gordon there. And and then here's a special picture.
yeah, this was at the funeral of his mother, and this is his dad. His dad, I can remember when he came back from STS-3, once we family were allowed, after they had their physicals, he gave Gordo a hug. And nothing happened. Gordo said, "Pop, aren't you going to say something?" And he said, "I'm speechless."
Oh.
So that was pretty neat.
Well, we're enjoying some great stories here with Marie Fullerton, wife of astronaut Gordon Fullerton, learning about your wonderful family, how you're still giving back to the astronaut community. I was out helping Chris Calley with his masterpieces out there that he's going to be showing to the Scholarship Foundation this morning, and saw Julie Payette come up and give you a big hug. She, of course, is an astronaut of 127 and another mission. You're going to get a lot of hugs this weekend,
Yes,
ma'am, aren't
I
you?
love them. I love them all. 'Cause I don't get those. The main mail that I see at home is my garbage man.
Oh, okay.
My waste management guy comes on Tuesdays, and he was there the day before my husband died when he was on hospice. And all of a sudden, I had been home for about 5 days, and of course, Gordo decides to put himself on hospice when I'm once a year going back to Delphus, Ohio, to be with my family. And I'm sitting there with Gordo, and who's dying, and I said, "Oh, I don't have any garbage cans." I know said to myself, I know he's going to die here within the next day or two, and my family will come out. So I hustle home. The waste management recycle fellow sitting in front of my house, probably eating lunch or something. I go up to him, I'm bawling, and I said, "Has the garbage been picked up?" He said, "It's all been picked up." I said, "Oh," I said, "I need garbage." I said, "I need empty," gonna cry. "I need empty garbage cans." I said, "My husband's probably gonna die tomorrow, and I'll have friends coming, and I need empty garbage cans." So he pulls up, goes behind my gate, pulls all my garbage cans out, dumps them in his recycled truck. And then he said, "You need a priest or a minister?" I said, "I got that handled." "You need heavy lifting?" "Got that handled. I just need empty garbage cans."
Oh,
Wow.
So from then on, that's almost 10 years ago, he always brings any trash can that's sitting out there back to my gate. And then he'll
that's
still
so
say,
nice.
yeah, he'll still say, "Can I help you with anything?" I said, "Got that handled."
It's still the same guy.
Same man. Yeah.
Same
So I
guy.
did
Wow.
called Waste Management, and I told him about this fellow, and he saw this information on a bulletin board there. He said, "God, that sounds like me." So the next time I put big signs on my garbage can before I knew who he was and everything, and said, "Stop, knock at my door." And so I gave him some space patches, and
Oh,
so from then
wonderful.
on, about every other week, I make cookies or whatever and give them to him. But I mean, he's one of the main males I see.
Well,
Grown
that's a
up
beautiful
males.
story there of people
Yeah,
bonding
just a-
over different things there. It's important. There's
you learn
I'm a senior citizen, and sometimes there's a lot to think about when you're on the backside of this thing called life, and friends and family are disappearing on you. Here is a beautiful story you're going to hear. Do y'all have who's got the Gordon Fullerton bobblehead out there? Okay, Marty, did you know there's a Gordon Fullerton bobblehead out there? Well, let's look at that. We make that make that bigger, hit the eye. Tell us about this story of the bobblehead, how that came about, and then there's a cool story of your husband buying one.
When NASA decided to do Aerospace Walk of Honor, and they did it for the first 100 people. Well, he and Pete Knight, who flew
X-15.
X-15, that year they gave 2. And so Gordo modeled for it and everything and all that. Well, anyway, so then we had a minor baseball team in Lancaster.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would present it there, but Gordo would fly an F-18 from Edwards or from Dryden out, and at the national anthem, there'd be one of the fellows would be standing on the roof of the stadium, and at the right time, Gordo would fly, as soon as they started the national anthem, he would fly over the stadium and then do some ailerons, loops and rolls up in the air, and then go back to Edwards, land, then come back out. And by this time now, it's like the 7th inning stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's signing that bobblehead. They honored them with a bobblehead. Now, the only part of that neat bobblehead that looks like Gordo is the back here because he's bald.
Oh, really?
The back of his hat.
Did you want to touch my bald spot? Thank
But
you very
anyway,
much.
they only gave out 1,000 of Gordo and 1,000 of Pete. Oh, they were gone like this.
Uh-huh.
So here, go now several years. And anyway, he signed every single bobblehead that a kid
right.
or anybody put in front of him.
Wow.
I mean, he was there after the game ended, just signing, talking to
So
people.
flash forward years later.
Yeah, so flash
You
forward.
don't have one in the house.
Well, he loved garage sales because he was a mechanical engineer. He could fix everything. So he knew where to go for a garage sale, where not to go. So he walks out the front door and he says, "Oh, there's a garage sale across the street." Well, I'm the neighborhood watch person. I didn't really know that person, nor did he know us. Gordo crosses the street and he sees this is a young kid. He sees his bobblehead there sitting on a table. And, we only had maybe one extra at home.
Yeah.
So he looks at the young fella and he said, "How much for the bobblehead?" The kid says, 50 cents. I'll give it to you for a quarter.
He's
So he
bartering him down from 50 cents for his own bobblehead.
I mean, the guy just didn't think nobody would want that bobblehead. So Gordo picks it up and looks at it and he says, Gordo's funny, dry sense of humor, but humble. And he looks at this kid, who's probably 30. He said, "This bobblehead's of me." The guy about fell off his chair. He was so embarrassed. But we got an extra bobblehead for 25 cents.
For 25 cents, indeed, there. Well, he'd be good to take trading with you anywhere there. Well, we got a lot of beautiful pictures here, you and your husband. I love that one. Everyone's a different
If I'm
time and
not
place in your
mistaken,
life.
I think this was taken about a month before his stroke. He wrote, we had a Christmas parade in Lancaster, and he represented NASA throwing out little astronauts on this. It has a big semi, and it was a big semi trailer, and he's standing on that, throwing out all these little rubber astronauts. And then a month later, he has a stroke.
There's the gantry on the White Room, it looks like.
This is this is for one of the AHOF things, and that could have been when there were two orbiters out on the pad. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I think it was.
There's a nice Christmas picture of the two of you there with the tree in the background. I always like that. And I don't see many pictures of an astronaut and a dinosaur together. So.
Oh, I think this is in this is in Scotland. That could have been that monster.
Oh, Loch Ness.
Yeah, Loch Ness. Yeah.
So he visited his heritage in Scotland and so forth.
He belonged.
You visited yours in Delphus, Ohio, Northwest
Yeah.
Ohio, and he went to Scotland.
He belonged to the organization Association of Space Explorers, and to be in that organization, you had to have one orbit.
Right.
And so each year, a country would invite at least 80 astronauts, because you take that times 2 if their spouses come. And this was the second last one we went to. It was in Australia.
It was like a lot of fun.
Scotland. It was nice.
Yeah. And a special day there.
Yeah, he was honored with the Aerospace Walk of Honor, and that's our son.
And where's that located?
Lancaster.
Okay.
So this monument is on Lancaster Boulevard with other ones.
Okay.
So he is.
I know you've been to a lot of conferences. Ones that's
Yeah.
warmed everybody's heart is Space Fest, and there's Al Hollenquist,
Yeah,
who he
this is-
lost a couple years ago.
Yeah, this is the first one. First one that I went to. I think in 17 maybe.
Is that right? In there, Mark, you have any comment there?
Well, that was just a big gathering of. I mean, every year there would be new people. I mean, there was, if this would have been Space Fest, what, 7 or 8 or something.
17 or 18.
I mean, there was 11, I believe.
This is
of
Mark
them.
and his daughter, I think.
But I mean, you'd never, you'd see old people come back. Well, not old, but I mean, you'd see old friends come back. Oh, look at me.
Like me.
Yeah, well, no. You look absolutely
it's-
fabulous. But I mean, that was just, we were there for them all.
There's
So
the two brothers there.
Yeah.
I know we're fond to become
Hey,
fast
brother.
friends with them over the
Oh,
years.
instantly. Yeah.
And that was great because we could see, I mean, we met friends that I'm still
Yeah.
close with today. And
Well,
and it was
everybody
just-
that goes to Space Fest once. Yeah, Chris is back there waving.
Yep.
Love you, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's
Everybody
he's
that
iconic.
goes to Space Fest wants to be at Space Fest. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just, I call it my happy place too, besides this one.
Good.
And meeting these fellas has just been truly an honor.
We'll see a couple pictures of Space Fest there. There's another happy place for a lot of us there, the
Yeah.
Rocket Garden at Kennedy Visitors Complex. That's
That's
a touristy shot for sure.
absolutely.
There,
Coming out of the top of my head.
yeah, I love it that Gordo doesn't feel like that's beneath him to pose out there in the Rocket Garden.
Right.
I mean, in there, but yeah, there's your Space Fest. That was 11 in July 2021. There,
Yeah, we've lost a couple of them since then.
Yeah.
absolutely. You've got a dozen astronauts in that group there, and some of you wives in there, and then whoop, not that way. Let's go this way, Mark. That way. There.
That's
And that was a big one
That-
there.
yeah,
You got
that one-
lost 3 or 4 people in that picture.
you see Jack and Mary there in the back row, and then Tom and I. And
You're in the
that
back
was-
row there, the upper
Yep.
left there. Thank you, Marty. Yeah, good memories with a lot of good people. The American Space Museum is doing a Shuttle Fest in April. We hope to capture some of the enthusiasm of these space fests. Actually, I talked to Sally Poor, and her late husband organized that, because I didn't want her to think we were stepping on her toes, and she endorsed it. Thinks yes, very much needed a sort of conference where people can get together and just not for the astronauts, the space workers and the families too, is what we love about that. So, Mark, you have anything to say about those? Or
Well, those were the fun pictures at the before the banquet. We'd have all the astronauts come into a room, and then folks would pay to pose to get in those shots. But
Yeah.
some people we don't have to worry about that because we take care of those sites of things. But it was just a good area and good kind of. You'd see the guys talking with each other. And the people would run in, and I'd take a snapshot of them. And the next, I think I set a world record. I think I did 64 people
Wow.
in under 20
Oh,
minutes.
they all want their picture and it's so
And
funny.
they-
Mark is up there trying to get everybody to pose, and everybody's talking to each other. Nobody's gone to the same party.
right, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
you
had a
got,
big job with these grown-up
I
guys. and
see Ed
gals.
Gibson there. We lost Uncle Al in the middle there.
Walt Cunningham.
Nurse,
Walt,
yeah,
yeah.
Walt Cunningham on the end of the front row there. You got the nurse, Dee. Dee's there in the middle row next to,
Charlie Duke. is on that.
yep. And anyway, I see Kathy Thornton there in the middle. Ray Seddon. Yep, bumping into people just like you are this weekend
Yeah.
at the Cocoa Beach Hilton there. And well, we've enjoyed talking to you a lot. I got a couple last pictures here to show you. There's when we was young, okay,
Yeah,
back
that's
there, and then kind of same kind of pose with the two of you there.
that's our every year about this time. Well, if it rains enough, those are California poppies in the back.
Oh,
You
beautiful!
can see them like 10 miles away.
And you and your husband even made it to the White House.
Yes, we were fortunate to be in 1989 to be H.W. Bush. It was the 20th reunion of Apollo 11, and he invited all the astronauts that had flown and their spouses to come out to the Rose Garden for a barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when their dog Nellie had babies, and she was out there by herself, enjoying herself without her babies around her. And it was just a very, very nice get together.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the Bushes appreciated they had other astronauts there too, or
Oh yeah, all of them that had been invited were astronauts that had flown, because there were still lots of them hadn't flown, so it was just the flown ones and their spouses.
And that was a Chris Calley event today. I just learned that today too. Chris Calley was there.
yeah.
For
Yeah.
the,
We are unveiling
For
the
the stamp.
25th anniversary
for the
stamp.
1989.
on there. But we hope that Daniel DeYoung, one of our favorite airline pilots for
Yo,
Spirit,
Daniel.
he's been watching today. David Stangy's up in Michigan. Cynthia Rossi out here at the Space Center. Tammy Miller's watching. Bill Whiting. Hey, Bill. Hazel Banks was a Apollo era secretary. Told you Robert Law be watching up there in Dundee, Scotland. Edwin Bowen, thank you. Steve Hammers, a space journalist, is regular on Stay Curious. Brad McKinnon, thank you, Brad. Enjoyed seeing you at Shuttle Fest. Cliff Watson is a friend of mine down in Pomona, Australia.
Wow.
So how's everything Friday morning there, buddy? All right, everybody getting paid on Friday down there in Australia. Your big brother Tommy's watching.
Hi, Tom.
Yeah,
Hey.
We're here.
And we got Carlton and Chris here in our studio. Chris Callie and Carlton Bailey there. I've certainly and Rox is watching. Marty's showing me there. Good job, Selvin, on the Streamlabs, and Marty also. Any other comments from anybody enjoying this wonderful conversation with Marie Fullerton?
I hope Andy, he sent this to our son Andy Fullerton. I hope he.
Yes, I'm
watching
sure
it.
he'll watch us somewhere down the line.
Yep.
We've really enjoyed your mom, just like everybody else. First, Mark, is there something you'd like to share with our Stay Curious audience?
Well, just thanks for tuning in. We're up to what, episode 809?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's great. You guys do a wonderful job here. And
Yeah, this
please
is-
come visit the museum. Marie's never been here before.
What'd you think about it?
Oh,
Our
my
executive
gosh.
director, Karen Conklin, showed
So
you.
impressed. I'm amazed, totally amazed with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We pack a
Told you.
lot in this
I
little
told you you'd
building,
like
don't
it.
you?
I knew you'd like it.
Oh yeah, so familiar with me, a lot of this stuff, but I loved hearing about the computers when he was showing that. I remember going in to see, I guess it was building 6, to the simulator room to ride the simulators with Gordo. And they had, these simulators were, the whole bottom floor 1 was filled with simulators, big ones.
Amazing.
You know, I forgot to tell you, but I saw His Royal Highness and that. You were going to ask.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we'll end our little program here with the fact that, of course, King, new king's going to be installed in England, first time in 70 years. All right, and Prince Charles came famously to Space Center. Tell us about your brush with the Prince Charles there.
He was invited to Johnson Space Center for the last approach and landing test flight. He was first to go to the Space Center and then go off to the landing and see Fred and Gordo land the last one in September.
He was fascinated with that, you said, to
Oh,
be there.
well, he was a pilot. Very, very fascinated. Anyway, he was going to come on a Saturday to the Space Center, and Gordon uninvited me to come because he said this was just for the employees, and I said, okay. So,
Okay.
so I called a secretary, and I said, can I get in with my badge? And she said, oh, of course. So I'm in this line. I know a lot of people are out there, and I'm in this line along a sidewalk where everybody else is because he's going to make his whole entourage is coming to the Visitor Information Center. And as he's coming by, Chris Kraft, who was the director at that time, he said, oh, Marie, I'd like you to meet. And all of a sudden, here's Prince Charles. Some lady swings him over. He's ready to say something.
Yeah, to you.
Yeah. And this lady swings him around, and he looks at me, and Chris Kraft looks at me. He's so sorry. So, of course, the entourage just keeps moving to the visitor center. So I thought, well, Uncle Gordo was going to be in the motion-based simulator that morning because he was going to give His Royal Highness a ride also. So we're in there a little while, and then the fellow at the computer calls, says, Gordo, His Royal Highness is here. You got to come down now. So they open the door, and here's Prince Charles, and he says, then Chris introduces me to him. He said, I am so sorry.
Really? Remembered that
He
incident.
remembered that, and he said, that lady just swung me around. But I thought, I was very impressed. It was all of a split second that happened. But I just thought he was a real gentleman, and
He made a big impression on NASA people that day. I know, Mike McCulley was the president of USA, and Bob Seek met him, and they just all said he was just so attentive. John Tribe was another guy that said he was just so interested.
He loved he was supposed to go to Saks Fifth Avenue after that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'd much rather stay in this simulator and go to Saks Fifth Avenue. Well, then he went to the landing. And at that time, Tom Stafford was the general of the base. So he
Right.
had the red carpet up for him. And there's pictures of him. And he said, this red carpet is utterly ridiculous for me. I mean, he was just really down to earth. He didn't need that or expect it.
Well, it will be a special coronation over the weekend. You know, there'll be just an interesting chapter of English history and world history and so forth down there. We have thoroughly enjoyed you being here, Marie Fullerton.
Oh, thank you for joining me. Thank all of you for all your work. And thank you, Mark. And I appreciate your even asking me. And sorry, as I said, I could have sent you 95,000 more pictures.
You sent me, and I hope I weeded them out there. But, people like Marty Winkle there that worked on our lunar module and the shuttle launch processing systems, we truly call them national treasures, our space workers and so forth. And here at the American Space Museum for over 20 years, we've been preserving the birth of America's space age in its delivery room, Brevard County. And your husband is one of the true pioneers of our shuttle era, the first dangerous flights when he and his other astronaut friends were all working together to make this space plane work with so many unknowns. And I just want you to know from the bottom of our heart here, we really appreciate everything that your husband's done for America and
he
space
has
age.
really appreciated everything that everybody else has done to make it safe and to make him look good.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you being here. We hope to see you again. You enjoy a wonderful weekend with all your friends and family there in the astronaut world there. And Mark Usciak, you got some gold stars there. Might even buy you a meal at the Moonlight Drive-In for bringing this wonderful lady in here. So, Marty, any details of cleanup there? Well, thank you guys for a great job. Thank you all for being here. And Friday is Future Fridays on Stay Curious Now. So we're going to come up with some futuristic looks. Maybe Chris Callie will have a future photograph to show us, perhaps. But until then, we can go out with this picture here and tell everybody that May the 4th be with you. And I'm Mark Marquette on behalf of Mark Usciak and Mrs. Marie Fullerton, thank you so much for being here. We will see you again to bridge the space between us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure.